even when you lost. There's always a hope. Rise and fight.
Something here to season 14, and it almost feels like the old school World Cyber Games feel, where this is now. Before there was without China here, there definitely felt like there was something missing, and having them here now, it just elevates everything. And one thing I've noticed, and I'm hoping to see this across the board with Zhanhun in particular, I've noticed that I think he's playing a little bit more cutting edge on the PvZ meta in particular. And I'm hoping to see that reflective across the board. But yeah, looking at all these guys, you've got the Legend coming back, which he's in your bracket. I don't know how excited you are to see him, the former pro gamer. You've got J-Star, a big name, and it's just great to have these guys here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exciting. To be honest, for myself, I have no idea what to expect, but, you know, just playing new players is always fun. You know, it's always exciting, man. I mean, there's no other real qualifier for it, and we're gonna see that on display here. Zhanhun, of course, his BSL debut. SquaLL has played in the Gosu League. You can see kind of a mainstay of the Ghost League and getting quite far. I mean, BSL 13. I think that's how. No, he actually qualified through MMR this time around, right, for Pro League.
Yes.
But you can see, I mean, the previous seasons, just really good results for him, and this is going to be kind of definitely a challenge for him coming up into the Pro League.
He's definitely lifted up his MMR coming in this way. He's kind of the promoter alongside Condensi, and it looks like we're ready to go. Going to move to Ascension for game one, Zhanhun versus SquaLL. Starting at the 12 o'clock location, we have Zhanhun starting as the pink Protoss.
And in the bottom left, it is SquaLL in that green.
And we'll see how this plays out. So SquaLL basically said, I play very standard meta style, which is either 973 3-hatch Muta openers.
Yeah.
What I've seen from Zhanhun, which I've really liked, is where other Protoss players have struggled kind of especially in the mid game, where we've seen really in North America, I've seen Hawk execute it the best, where he's kind of gone to that 4-hatch, oftentimes 5-hatch mid game style. And it's just really abusive, putting Protoss in the dark, sometimes doing tech switches into Muta, and just leaving them where they're guessing and just do not know what to do, and just really struggle to capture the third or avoid being contained. Zhanhun takes the fight to the Zerg players. He oftentimes will go for early Corsair play, clear out midfield, get rid of all the overlords, basically limit vision, and then start moving zealots out, and basically use what Zerg are trying to do against them. Looks like we're seeing a 9-pool opener here from SquaLL in the bottom left-hand corner.
Yeah, so talking about honorable macro play, 9-pool, probably the more aggressive. Okay, 9-pool speed. Look at that. Speed. Actually, no. Okay,
just cancel.
That's good. Definitely, especially when you go for this 9-pool, getting that extra drone is nice. But for the most part, kind of ends up being economically the same whether you make the drone trick or not. But 9-pool is really nice because you just get those lings that much more quickly out, and it forces Protoss definitely to play more defensively, because obviously overpull, you could go for something like overpull into hatchery, and if you go hatchery before your lings, you're actually not capable of putting on that much pressure, and sometimes Protoss can get away with stuff like Gate Nexus instead of the Forge. But 9-pool forces the Forge out right away and definitely gives you a bit of a tempo advantage, especially if you can kill this probe. So kind of aggressive choice here from SquaLL. You know, talking about him being a macro player, this is about as aggressive as you can get and still play macro. But I do like it in the first game, kind of a tournament, getting this tempo out can be really hard for Protoss to deal with.
Yeah, I like what he's doing here. He wants to see, actually leaving for a minute there, I thought he was going to dedicate those 6 Zerglings to try to take out that early drone scout to make sure that he was putting Zhanhun into the dark. Looks like there is a Forge follow-up. You have the Zealot and the Probe holding on the line. The Zealots are making their way that direction. We did have a scout, so it looks like, okay, 1 Zergling backing out, so it's going to be 5 Zerglings to potentially press the front. 2 Zealots are there, which should be sufficient to go ahead and defend this. It's going to be a little while. What this does do is this forces out potentially a cannon first. The Zergling's going to work. The Zealot coming off the line, trying to poke away at that. He needs to be very careful that the Zerglings don't pull off. And the second Zealot coming off the line, actually getting some free hits. SquaLL having some trouble microwaving, took several free hits on those Zerglings, and that's pushing them back. In the meantime, Zhanhun saved a lot of resources and is opting to go Nexus before cannon.
Yeah, this is really good from Zhanhun. Really, as Protoss in this situation, the probe was actually pushed out of the main base. So had SquaLL went for a really, really aggressive kind of play here and just kept making lings, there was a world where he would have killed that gate, especially because Zhanhun went for the Nexus. But generally, Protoss just wants to monitor the Zergling count. And if it's only going to be these 6 Zerglings, you don't need a cannon. As long as you're just making continuous Zealots off that one gate, the gateway will take damage, but it will not go down. And, you know, with the probe and the wall, just no way for the Lings to get in. So actually, so far, really good play from the Protoss. SquaLL, though, behind this, I mean, you got all 3 hatcheries up, 3 bases, and getting lair at a really good time here, very early. So I like the opening from both players, but Protoss, I think, tech-wise, is going to be a bit behind. But these 3 Zealots, once the cannon finishes, and you can see that Protoss is still making Zealots out of this gateway. Once that cannon finishes, I'm pretty sure Protoss is going to push out and it puts some pressure on with these Zealots. And it's really hard to deal with this type of pressure as Zerg, because when you go for the lair is extremely expensive. You know, you got to get that gas early, and just the lair itself, 150 minerals. So this really starts cutting into the Zerg economy if they overmake Zerglings to defend this.
Yeah, this is, again, I love it, seeing the pressure put on the Zerg player, and you got to make decisions on how many Lings you're making. And it looks like the Overlord is going to see those Zealots making their way out in the background. But this is something I've seen a lot of high-level Protoss players do, is just put the pressure on right at this moment so you can't produce drones right when you want to get your economy sailing, be disruptive, and then put your opponent in the dark. And maybe even back off with those Zealots. In fact, it looks like Zhanhun is in fact doing exactly that. He moves the Zealots forward, forces a lot of Zerglings to be built, and he's backing right out with those Zealots. So basically gets the best of both worlds, keeps his defensive structure in place. He's going to force SquaLL to be aggressive with his Zerglings now because he's already invested in them, and he already knows that he's moving towards 3-hatch Spire. I think based on the scouting information that he's already gleaned, and he's going to have a Corsair out, I think, in not too long from here.
Yeah, I mean, Protoss playing this perfectly. I think Zerg overreacting a bit. Does have a lot of Lings, actually. If SquaLL takes this fight and kills all these Zealots, it's going to be really good for him. But being a bit indecisive, the Zerglings not quite all engaging at the same time. More Zerglings coming from the 3rd location. But this is a really good arc, actually, from Protoss. Somehow, Zhanhun microing out of his mind. Look at those red Zealots. And now with these 4 Zealots, I mean, they're regenerating shields. They're getting inside the mineral line. This is way more damage than the Zerg wanted to have.
Yeah, getting some, getting into the drone line, able to kill a drone, force more Zerglings to be built. Zhanhun, and this is before the Spire's even finished. So the Spire just now finishing, the Zealot now coming back to the main, but the first Corsair already moving its way across the map. And yeah, I think everything going into Zhanhun's favor right now is doing great on supply. Looks like his bases, I got to assume in the background, pretty well saturated. And he's going to have that, we'll see. It looks like SquaLL has already dedicated moving, I think that's going to be a 5th hatchery, moving back to the kind of 5-hatch mid-game Muta play. And this is where I've seen Zhanhun excel, just be able to keep that Corsair count alive. And that's where I've seen other Protoss kind of falter, is not building enough Corsair, not keeping the Corsair count, and not basically maintaining a degree of air control. And another Zealot somehow sneaks into the 6 o'clock location. Looks like it's going to be able to get into the drone line and get some additional kills. 2 Zerglings looking to approach. A little bit of it, oh man, some miss micro there, and a flood of Zerglings marching their way down, still able to get a drone kill. But that still, even despite all of this, able to distract and disrupt SquaLL's game plan.
Yeah, Zerg is super tight on economy at this stage of the game, trying to get those 6 hatcheries going with limited drone count. Every time you have like a disruption like that, and I have to say, this build from SquaLL, it seems a bit off. Generally, you don't want to get these 3 gases right away in the way that he's doing it, and he's going for the 6-hatch, but he was going for the 6-hatch while getting the 2nd gas at his natural. You're really strapped for cash in this type of situation, Diggity. And when you have Zealots kind of harassing you, when you're taking all your gases this fast, I mean, your mineral income isn't quite up to scratch. So I'm interested to see. He is popping a couple of Mutalisks. You can see the supply for now is looking fine. Actually, SquaLL somehow, I feel like if he's able to get away with this, he'll be in a really good spot, because the 6 hatch is actually really outpacing the Protoss's build. But not only does he have 6 hatch, he has like a lot of tech with it. He's getting Mutalisks, he's getting Hydra Den, Evo Chamber. I mean, this might start looking really bad for Protoss if he does not do damage with these Zealots.
Zealots marching into the 6 o'clock location. The Zerglings actually having to work against their own Sim City to get in there. The Zealots moving to the far right. It looks like to engage there. One Zealot getting picked off on the corner. The drones coming in to fight on the line as well. And the Zealots getting great concavity. Mutalisk finally moving up. Some Hydralisk here as well. Some more Zealots look like they were in the background, but Zealot Leg Speak now kicking in. They're backing out. The Corsairs look like they're away from the army to help provide a decent amount of defense. But now moving in, are the Scourge going to land? Scourge managed to take out one Corsair, and it looks like they're continuing to engage the Mules on top of the line. And once again, we have Zhanhun engaging at the 6 o'clock location. The Hydralisks are there behind that Sim City, though, and so he's going to get pushed back.
Yeah, but so far, not really going in Zhanhun's favor. I mean, Zerg taking some damage, but clearing a lot of the Zealots, and importantly, not losing any drones. Has that 6 hatchery going. I don't think Protoss is quite close to 6 gate. You know, I think actually Protoss might still be on 4 or 5 gate or something. And you just don't want to be in this situation as Protoss, because Zerg is kind of infrastructurally sound, has a really good economy, will be able to push out and soon kind of threaten the Protoss's eventual 3rd base. So, you know, if SquaLL kind of keeps this status quo, I mean, another attack is going to come here imminently from Zhanhun. If SquaLL can keep most of his overlords alive and not lose any drones and just keep macroing, I can see here, okay, the gate count finally starting to ramp up, but it is a bit behind kind of the 6 hatcheries, which are already, you know, have been kind of online for Zerg for a really long time. But you know, SquaLL, he needs to start making something happen. Push out these Hydras, get your 4th base, pressure the Zerg, or pressure the Protoss.
Yeah, pressure via economy. Yeah, get that 4th base, get it established, stay economically ahead. He's got a lot of Hydralisks that have been sitting back in a nice defensive position up to this stage. And this is the point that I was talking about right here is whoa, the Scourge looking to hunt and equalize the air battle and take these Corsairs out. The Corsairs getting pinned into the corner. We have 2 on the lead. Are they going to be able to make it to base? Look, trying to micro, but the Zealots in the meantime careening into the 6 o'clock location. The Hydralisks out of position to help defend this, and SquaLL once again going to take some economic damage here. The Zealots right on top of the drone line, and SquaLL, finally the Hydralisks coming in to help defend this, but he took a big economic hit there, and the Zealots are right on top of those Hydralisks, and you're going to get a handful of Hydralisk kills on top of everything else. I don't even know that he's going to lose those Zealots. It looks like he's marching a lot of them out. I'm not sure what happened with the Corsair count, and now Zhanhun getting aggressive, actually moving forward with the High Templar, and smells blood in the water.
Yeah, I think this is where the situation starts snowballing here for Protoss. I mean, the tempo's just gone for Zerg, and Protoss with the 8 gate plus 3rd base coming in, all these units going down for SquaLL. He was looking like he was in such a good position, but the Hydra's just out of position when he was focusing on trying to kill those Corsairs, and all of a sudden loses all the Hydras. Templar as well rallied in here. And I think that's going to be it, Diggity.
There's GG.
Called.
Yeah, that's actually what the first Protoss I saw execute this actually was Dreamer down in Hasu League. But what I really like about this play style is when you get that Corsair count out, when you maintain map control, even if they build a lot of Scourge to chase your Corsair down like you saw, there's no vision. You can't see what the Protoss is doing, so you can't do, especially, and that's the advantage, and this is where we see Hawk play so strong out of this style, is he maintains vision and he just builds reactively.
Yeah.
But when you have no map vision, you can't see what's coming at you, you don't know where it's coming, you just end up with situations like that from Zhanhun, where he just, can use the lack of vision, the map control, to just go in and dive in and take out bases. But we're going to see an intense, I'm actually really excited to see this PvP coming up.
Yeah.
Bonnet versus Zhanhun. Particularly because I know from what I've seen of Zhanhun's play in PvP, he likes to open 1 gate Robo into Reaver play and then get in his opponent's face and play aggressively. And what have we seen from Bonnet? The exact same thing. So what I think we're going to see is a big test of Reaver micro. I have to, not knowing Zhanhu's ability to micro reavers, I have to give the advantage to Bonneth in that regard. But I think it's going to be a really intense, razor thin matchup that comes down to basically shuttle reaver micro between both of them. And I wouldn't be shocked if both players have identical builds right off the bat, and then we just see some really fierce fighting in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting matchup. I think Bonneth, of course, just an absolute monster in PvP. And PvP really is his strongest matchup by like a significant margin. It is kind of the matchup that just benefits from his entire skill set. You know, just being this really strong micro player. PvP really comes down to kind of control and decision making. And that's exactly what Bonneth excels at, kind of battle micro, kind of like in-game decision making, tactical movements and stuff like that. So I think still this is going to be very hard for Zhanhun because Bonneth's just such a monster, and he's